Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Corey Connors. Today's guest is someone I'm very excited to speak with. Lucy Pierce is with the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. Hey, Lucy.
Hey, Corey, how are you?
Good. We're both Northwesterners, so I knew I liked you already. Excited about this conversation because the Sustainable Packaging Coalition is making a lot of impact and connected to a lot of positive change, and that's what this show is all about. So can you tell us about yourself? How'd you get into this great world of packaging?
Yeah, of course. So it's kind of funny, but both of my grandfathers were in the packaging business. So I think it's in my blood somewhere. But I actually studied sustainability in school and then decided to pursue a master's degree in environmental studies out here in Washington State.
For you.
And so I chose to focus my thesis research on the environmental impacts and social perceptions of bioplastics and compostable plastics.
Wow.
So that kind of led me into exploring the packaging space more. And so after I graduated, I attended a recycling development center meeting, which is hosted ongoing and is hosted by the Washington Department of Ecology. And I had a former boss who's the director of sustainability at the Evergreen State College, who was invited to be on the board. And it was an open public meeting. He, said, you should come along, see what's happening, see what these folks are talking about. And it was there that I met our executive director at Green Blue, Nina Goodrich, and sort of the rest is history. We got to chatting. I went through some interviews with Green Blue and got hired as a project associate.
That's excellent. It's such a great organization. Tell us about, so Green Blue is the overarching organization, the nonprofit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And,
so Green Blue is kind of like the umbrella, we say.
Yeah. And then Sustainable Packaging Coalition falls under that. Can you tell us about both as much as you can, like in a detailed way?
Yeah. So Green Blue is an environmental nonprofit. And so we say we're dedicated to the sustainable use of materials in society. So there are a multitude of projects that fall under Green Blue, and one of which is the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. We have others like the How to Recycle label, which is probably our most public-facing project, right? It's like a label for consumers to read to help them recycle
we love
their materials.
We talk about that all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of our consumer facing project. We have a project around clean ingredients, forest products. So Green Blue is the umbrella, and then we have these more specific topic areas and projects under that. So the Sustainable Packaging Coalition is a membership-based organization. So we have member dues, and that's sort of how we operate. And so we bring all of our members together, and there's sort of like three key words that we focus on for our work is educate, collaborate, and action. So those are kind of our guiding principles, if you will. And our mission at the SPC is really to bring sustainable packaging stakeholders together to catalyze on actionable improvements in packaging systems and help provide folks with education and be a voice on issues related to all things sustainable packaging. So
it's quite an impressive group. I looked at the website and saw some of the members and was very impressed. A lot of those people are making great impact on sustainable packaging and really teaching others how. It seems kind of like I would akin it to Tesla's open source for all of their information. I think that's kind of seems like what people are doing in the sustainable packaging world is, hey, you guys should try this. It's working for us. And it's fun to see that. So definitely the collaborate.
Yeah, it's really important for us to have as many open resources as possible to really share out there what kind of research and work we're doing and, help our members with all sorts of issues they're facing or challenges or opportunities, right, that we can see for more collaboration among companies. And so, definitely really try to educate.
So how do people get involved? Can somebody like me join as an individual, or is it companies, or only for now?
Yeah, so for now, SPC membership is open to any company that demonstrates an interest in sustainability and packaging. We do recognize that individuals and NGOs and other nonprofits or like business associations like also have interest in this, but we encourage those folks to attend our events or use our open resources, but we don't accept applications for membership for like individuals. Have to be a part of an organization.
Maybe Sustainable Packaging podcasts could be involved.
Yeah. Yeah,
something
definitely.
like that. Okay, we'll talk about it. So there's an event coming up in Canada we were discussing before the show came on here. Can you tell the audience about that so that they can show up?
Of course, yeah. So as a part of our organization, we host a few events a year. And so we have this event, SPC Engage, which this year is taking place in Montreal on July 20th through 21st. And this event, we really try to dig into a topic, one kind of specific topic area. And so this time it will center around delivering sustainable packaging goals. And so we've got a lot of great workshops and a workbook that will be going along with the event to really help companies think about their sustainable packaging goals. And we're getting ever closer to 2025 where we have a lot of big goals set. And so how are we going to get over the hump and achieve those in the next couple of years? So that's what this event is focused on.
It's really exciting. And I'm planning to be there with one of my partners and sponsors, SpecRite. They're making huge impact on people being able to actually meet their goals in sustainable packaging because they provide a marker for where you are. And then you can look at alternatives and say, okay, this would get us to where we need to be. And so it's really, really an actionable system with that spec first approach on packaging.
Great. Yeah, definitely. It's really important to understand where you are and kind of lay out the steps of where to go next. And that can be a tricky part to figure out.
Yeah. So you were telling me about your college thesis paper for your, I am fascinated to hear what you found about biodegradable and compostable plastic. Can you give us a quick 30-second little, this is what we found, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so one part of it was just sort of a big literature review around LCAs and other research on the environmental trade-offs of bioplastics, right? So things, like eutrophication and cropland space. And so there was that part, the environmental part, but I thought what was really the most interesting to me, which as someone who maybe would have been an anthropologist in another life, I think, was I did a lot of interviews with businesses who use compostable plastics like tableware, silverware, cups, to-go cups, coffee shops, and small restaurants and things like that out here. And, we're in the Pacific Northwest, you said. And so there's sort of that stereotype, right, that we're all kind of crunchy granola. So
we'll take it.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to talk with these business owners who were making the decision to purchase these packaging products that are, generally a bit more expensive. And I sort of asked them about, what do they understand about how these products impact the environment? Are they sending them for industrial composting after they're done, or are they just going, sort of into the regular waste bin? And so I think, this is a few years ago, so maybe we've evolved a little, but it was, some folks were super interested. They understood all the compostable labeling and the certifications. They had really spent a lot of time researching it, and others, sort of a spectrum. So others were sort of just like, well, the coffee shop down the street uses it, so I thought I should use it too. But I think overall, a lot of organizations have done a really great job on trying to educate folks like, BPI on compostable labeling and sort of understanding the environmental trade-offs of those types of materials.
Yeah. You mentioned LCA, which for the audience, if you're not familiar, is life cycle analysis, and is critical to figuring out if something is sustainable or more sustainable than the other option. Right. It's definitely the way of the future and the present really now with all the changes. But can you tell us about a fun project or something that you worked on while at the SPC that like this really you felt like it made an impact, anything kind of top of mind?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind for in terms of the SPC projects would be our collaboratives.
Yeah.
And so our collaboratives are a supply chain, across the supply chain. Any member is invited to participate in these groups, and they focus on a specific topic in sustainable packaging. And so I recently led one on what we called shipping liquids.
Yeah.
And so there's particular challenges around liquids in e-commerce, and it's maybe not the most like you don't immediately think of that as a sustainability issue, but if you have products that are being damaged or broken or spilling and leaking, that's a wasted product, and so that's wasted resources. And so we had a good group of folks who were trying to really understand this issue. And I don't have a background in packaging design. I'm just a more general sustainability person. And so it was really interesting to hear from all these other groups on work they're doing to sort of create e-commerce specific packaging for liquids to try to help solve this issue from kind of a source point, looking back at the basics.
That's a real challenge in packaging. I can guarantee that from years of working on shipping and trying to ship, and making mistakes and figuring it out. And shipping liquids is hard. And I think the trend I like to see right now, like a company I talked to this morning called Dip. Dip already, they have concentrated products like shampoo bars and conditioner bars. And so these kinds of things eliminates water.
Right.
You're literally standing in a room that will produce water on you. Why do you need to, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like the ideal situation. And I could definitely see that taking over that industry. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a bit about concentration as well in the group, and I think for certain products, especially personal care, it's a really great application and can really reduce the amount of packaging and has some great environmental benefits. So yeah, it's a little more challenging for some other categories, for example, like cleaning, like house cleaning, you don't really want to concentrate bleach. So
that
there's,
could be a little toxic. Yeah.
So we talked about, sort of the applications that it could be really good for. And I think that's kind of the overall, key question is what application could this work for, and looking at that closely.
And safely. That's such a great point. Yeah, we don't want to be shipping toxic concentrates all around. But yeah, well said. Good point. I hadn't thought about bleach, but there's so many cleaning products now that are little concentrated, balls of liquid or whatever it is, powder. Yeah, and it's really cool to see that. But you're right. Some of it won't be able to be concentrated.
Yeah.
So what does the SPC recommend for companies that are trying to be more sustainable with their packaging?
Yeah, this is a big question, right?
Yeah.
I think at the SPC, we like to really think, Nina said this once at an event and it really stuck with me, and it's carbon is our North Star, right? So, I mean, if there's so many different sustainability areas to focus on, right? Like before packaging, I was interested in heating and cooling and in building efficiency. And so, to truly impact climate change, we're going to have to look much deeper into how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and, even to how are we going to pull carbon from the atmosphere. So really thinking about carbon kind of as a North Star and how that will really impact climate change, I think is big for us. And I think a part of the SPC is really we love to be in the gray area. We love to add nuance to the conversation. We love to help folks, including ourselves, think about challenges and opportunities holistically and in a systems thinking, right? So there can be a time and place for a lot of different materials. And, I think that's why we've created so many, but you've got like the it can be tough to kind of balance, like if you want to eliminate plastic packaging, for example, as a
Right.
goal as a company. But you also have carbon or greenhouse gas targets that you're trying to meet. So, maybe you think about switching to glass, but it's heavier, and so it can create more emissions when transporting it. And so there's a lot of layers to making sustainability decisions in
Yeah.
packaging. And so,
Great
yeah,
point.
I think, yeah.
A lot of companies will, I've heard this from many people, said, oh, the CEO said we should eliminate plastic. Okay, wait a second. Why? They think it's more sustainable. Oh, well, then we have to change to glass. Oh, that's going to cost us 5 more truckloads a year across the country, or 10 more containers from overseas. The life cycle analysis has to be done to figure out, is it more sustainable? Plastics can be the most sustainable option. I think that's something that people need to understand. Of course, you want to look at monomaterials as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you want to minimize the packaging as much as you can. Make it as small as possible without potentially breaking it, because there's nothing sustainable about having to reship it again.
Right.
That's something a lot of times we're discussing on this show is, it has to be safe. It has to get there without damage.
Right. That's why we invented packaging, right? I mean,
Yeah,
because
that's it.
So definitely.
Yeah, well said. So how do people get a hold of you guys to join up?
Yeah, the best way to reach out for general inquiries would be email, and we've got a great communications team who's always working behind the scenes there in the emails. And so that would be spcinfo@greenblue.org, and that's on our website. And we're on LinkedIn and Twitter. Trying to think the social media person would be like, let's see, what else are we on? But yeah, LinkedIn and Twitter are the big ones for us. So, but yeah, spcinfo@greenblue.org is the best email to get in touch with us.
Well, thank you so much, Lucy. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing you in July in Montreal. That'll be a really fun show and a great event to spread the word about sustainable packaging. I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for sponsoring this episode. And if you're listening, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and give us a review. We appreciate it. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you so much, Corey.